Hi guys, and welcome again to our series Clouds, a lesson, a blessing, and an opportunity, and the road to positive mental health. So in this series we've been looking at a lot of aspects of mental health, pardon me, and how that impacts on people's lives, and some tips and tricks perhaps to get us to a place where we can do something about that mental health, or improve matters at least. So tonight I wanted to look at PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a very debilitating condition that a lot of people have, millions and millions of people have. First of all, before we go there, I'd like to highlight a book by a very good friend of mine, a lady that I work with quite a bit, Eileen McCourt, and this book is called Lighting the Way. And it's just been released there. It's on Amazon, if anyone would like to get it. And this is, I'm quoting here, a little magic book of spiritual messages and meanings. And I thought it was important to share this on this video, in the fact that one of the greatest things that you can do as part of your daily routine is to connect in to spiritual literature, whatever that may be, something that speaks to your heart. And something that will lift the spirit. And this book here, it's absolutely lovely, and it's wee snatches of thoughts and practices and meaningful sayings that speak directly to the heart. And for anybody going through a spiritual crisis or mental health crisis, I think this is a very good medicine. So, lighting the way. Eileen McCourt. So we wanted to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder and what that means. So post-traumatic stress disorder is a result of trauma. So if you've experienced trauma in your life, a lot of that trauma impacts on the psyche and on your mental health and plays out in certain ways. And for PTSD, it plays out through a lot of different conditions that make the person suffering from it very much the outsider. And it was once called actually shell shock after the First World War, when the veterans came home having experienced great trauma. They were exhibiting very bizarre symptoms and problems sleeping and all that type of thing. And no one actually has discovered why people have PTSD, but it's certainly related to the trauma. But medically, how the body produces these symptoms over and over again. And there's four major symptoms, or categories of symptoms actually, with PTSD. One is intrusive thoughts, dreams, or flashbacks to the original trauma. Perhaps it was in relation to sexual abuse or as children, and we carry that through life. And these flashbacks and dreams, they really have a terribly negative impact on our lives. And another one is avoiding reminders of that, obviously. Because the trauma was so strong, you're going to want to stay away. And that can be quite debilitating in people's lives, all in all. And a third one, negative thoughts, feelings of fear, guilt, anger. And it's especially difficult for the partner of the person experiencing the PTSD, because a lot of that may be directed at them. And the fourth symptom is reactive symptoms, like difficulty sleeping. Obviously, if you're having intrusive thoughts, intrusive dreams, you're going to want to stay away from that as much as possible. And again, the lack of sleep for anyone is a road to further negative mental health. So another one is irritability, obviously. Again, awful for those sharing space with that person because they're continually irritable. And if you have these intrusive thoughts going on in your mind all the time, it will make you irritable, of course. Of course it will. But it's a very, very, very debilitating condition. And I guess you could call it overwhelming stress, and it's ongoing. And if you're presenting with that in your life, it is one of the most difficult conditions to get a handle on. Again, medicine often throws drugs at these mental health conditions, and that's never a positive long-term solution. Now, I would be the first to say that, as I've said in other videos, that there is a time and a place for medication. It's a short, sharp intervention, and that hopefully will get you to a place where there isn't the same level of risk to yourself or others. And in this case, and I think serotonin uptake inhibitors are some of the drugs that's often used. And again, to get you over that crisis, that hump, I think that's a positive. But that's usually not the way that psychiatrists prescribe these drugs. It's long term. And the more you get used to the particular drug you're on, it has a lesser effect on your PTSD. And then following that, you burn out because you're going over and over and over new medications, and you're left a shadow of your former self, really. A walking zombie, some people call it. But it's such a negative effect through drugs over a long term, over years perhaps. It can be very negative. In the original shamanic communities, of course, that the community, the tribe, the clan would gather around the affected individual and hold them close to their hearts and support them and show them love. And that is, it's very difficult in the modern day to do that, and it's very difficult to understand because we've lost that shamanic understanding of ill health and especially mental ill health, and there's always been a stigma attached to that. But that was always the way it was done in the shamanic communities. And obviously there's a lot of very bizarre symptoms in relation to this. As I said, in the First World War, this was called shell shock, and there were triggers for that person who, perhaps someone in the First World War who'd been had access to a bombing situation, or a bomb went off near them, and they were playing that continuously on a loop. And again, they didn't know. Medicine still doesn't know what that is. They feel it might be an overabundance of cortisol being released into the body, which activates the fight-flight mechanism. And that's pretty much what it is, because once you have that trigger, then you go through that trauma again, you re-experience that trauma. It's an awful, awful place to be, an awful lonely place to be. And to be continually fearful of a trigger that might start that off. And again, this could be the result of anything. This could be the result of trauma of any kind. It could be, I mean, one of the great instigators of trauma, we'll say, is war. And a lot of the modern day veterans coming back from the likes of Iraq and Iran and those type of conflict situations. Even Northern Ireland here, there's so many people that are carrying post-traumatic stress disorder because of the conflict here through the years. And there's very little that can be done with that. Psychotherapy is a way, and medication is a way, but it's never fully that successful. And I think for me, what's required for these individuals who are suffering PTSD is social support, empathy, acceptance of their conditions, lack of blame, and a general understanding that there's something going on with this person that is very difficult and very challenging for them. And again, shamanism is one of the most effective methods to look at this. And a shamanic perspective on this would be, to a certain degree, soul loss. So you lose a piece of your soul in the face of trauma. But if you're stuck in that fight and flight mechanism, that continues on even though that soul piece is gone. And we'll actually be doing a video on soul loss and soul retrieval next week. And we'll be going live on the Friday, actually, as opposed to the Sunday. So if anyone wants to tune in, that's when we're doing it. But the ability for the shamanic practitioner to take that person through their internal world, through a journey or guided meditation, whatever you want to call it, take them through that dark place that is their psyche or has become their psyche. And it's there's some fantastic results actually from shamanic interventions with PTSD. And there's some scientific papers actually, mainstream scientific papers that have looked at the shamanic perspective on PTSD and healing that and taking people through that internal world and making that little bit more safe for them. And the effect of drumming actually is very positive. It brings down the heart rate and the breathing and all those aspects. And I've been doing this for many years, and I have worked with veterans and military personnel that have experienced PTSD or who were experiencing PTSD, and found that that's quite effective in helping them through. So if anybody is really looking for the shamanic perspective on this and shamanic healing around this, get in touch. I certainly do that. But I'm going to give you a few wee tips and tricks to calm yourself when you're going through PTSD. And as has been in all these videos in this series, we're going to look at breathing. So again, the effect of the drum is very significant on this, and it really impacts upon the body and the body energy and the physiology of the body, the heart rate and the breathing and blood pressure and all those things. It brings all those things down. So the breathing technique. Breathe in to the count of 4. Deep, deep breath, filling your lungs completely. Hold that breath for the count of 4. For the count of 6. And then release very slowly to the count of 8. And that's completely emptying your lungs. Holding then for another 4 before breathing in again. So let's try that. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, you can try that yourself, and you'll see that it's quite effective. And it works with all these very debilitating conditions where anxiety is a factor. And PTSD, of course, anxiety is a huge role to play in that. The expectation of triggers setting you off, perhaps in a public place, and that being so difficult to handle and deal with, and other people's perceptions of that, of course. So if you use these techniques, it calms the body, calms the heart rate, calms the breathing, and that puts you in a much better and a much more powerful place to deal with what's coming. And I suppose another way is to, as I've said before in another video, to interact with the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is a nerve that runs from the brain right down into the gut, and it has a lot to do with the parasympathetic nervous system, and that again is combating the fight and flight mechanism. So again, as I suggested in the previous video, if you put your head to one side, touch your ear, that is impacting on the vagus nerve, and you hold that for 30 seconds. And then the other side, and again, hold that for 30 seconds. And that will impact on the vagus nerve and activate that. Because there are a lot of nerves branching off the vagus nerve, and one of the most accessible are around your ears. And another technique is there's a little indentation right here in your ear, and if you put your finger in there and massage that area, again, that's activating the vagus nerve. And move that down, and do that for 30 seconds, and move down to your ear hole proper. Don't put your finger in your ear hole, but just at the very edge of it, the opening, and again, just small circles, massage that. And you'll find that bringing you down and relaxing you. And the same on the other ear. 30 seconds up here, and then 30 seconds here, and on and on and on, until you get a grasp on the situation. But I think these internal mechanisms are so important. And if we can activate a calmness in ourselves, then that goes a long way to combating the likes of PTSD. And here's a very short meditation or shamanic journey, guided shamanic journey, that will take you to a place of great calm. And so if you follow this, and again, we're using the drum. Begin your breathing. Slow, regular breaths. Breathe in for 4, hold for 6, release for 8, hold and breathe in again. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Bring up that beautiful energy from Mother Earth. Feel that coming up your body. Feel it calming you. Close your eyes and visualize you're sitting in a canoe on a very small, gentle river. It's a summer's day, and there's a gentle breeze blowing, and the sun shines down upon you. There are birds singing in the trees. And the canoe gently moves down the river, and there's a gentle lapping of the water. on the outside of the canoe. And you feel very relaxed, very peaceful. And as the boat goes along, so any stress or tension that you're holding in your body drifts down and into the water. Gently moving forward. Absolutely no stress whatsoever. This is your safe space that you can go to at any time if you're feeling stressed, anxious, or you feel the oncoming of some of the symptoms of PTSD or anxiety or depression, any of those. And the water gently laps against the side of the boat. And you hear the gushing of water and the splashing of water just up ahead. And you see there's a small, beautiful waterfall. Right in front of you. Falling down into the small river. And as you get closer and closer, you begin to see the light reflected through the drops of water, creating rainbows. Gently moving towards this waterfall, you begin to feel the flecks of water on your face. Closer and closer, the water begins to fall on your head, on your shoulders. And as it falls, it washes away all the tension, all the strain, the stress, all the fears, all the guilt, all the anger. All the hurt, the pain and the trauma. And as you go through the curtain of water, you come into a little pool of water. A dark space of calmness. Green moss grows around you, and there's an overall sense of safety and well-being behind the waterfall. Sit here for a moment. Feel the calmness. Feel the healing of the earth, of water. In shamanic communities, water is related directly to the emotions. And this is a very healing emotional place. that you can visit at any time. Look around you in this space behind the waterfall and bring in all your senses to place yourself there fully. Look around at everything in small detail. What does this place smell like? Do you smell the grass? Smell the freshness of the water in the air? Hear the sounds of the water as it falls down onto the river. Just feet from where you sit in your canoe. This is your sacred space. Feel the temperature in this place. Slightly colder than it was outside the waterfall. Reach out your hand and put it in the water. Feel the cold water run through your fingers. And once you have completely calmed yourself, once all the stress is gone, it's time to come back. And your canoe takes off again as you move towards the curtain of water. Again, splashing over your head, down your shoulders, washing away all your negativity, all your negative emotions, all your negative energy. And again, you appear out the other end of the curtain of water and drift gently back up the river. Hearing the gentle lap of the water and the cheerful song of the birds in the trees. And again, the canoe gently comes to the edge of the river and stops. For a moment, feel the calmness. Feel the peace. Feel the safety. Feel the wholeness in your body. Now bring your consciousness back into your body. Feel the heaviness of your legs and your arms and your body. And when you're ready, and only when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay guys, I hope that was useful for you. That is the beginning of creating your internal space. And then once you've created a firm internal space, then you begin to heal the traumas. And those journeys are very, very useful in terms of going back, meeting the inner child, and then parenting that inner child. And that is very much the shamanic way. And parenting that child until the child grows. And in certain situations, journeying to find those soul pieces that were lost through trauma and bringing those back. That's the very essence of shamanism, is that internal world, the journey. And it can be used for all sorts of things, calmness and the healing of the body and the soul and the mind and the emotions and all those things. Very, very useful. Well, I hope this has been interesting. I hope it's been useful with these wee tips and techniques. Again, we'll be back on Friday next, when we'll be doing another. Actually, we're back on Tuesday, on this Tuesday. Wednesday, we're back doing another journey, and we'll be doing a journey around balance, taking control, removing fear, all those aspects. So we'll be back on Wednesday at 9 p.m. On Friday, we'll be back for another episode in Clouds, a lesson, a blessing, and an opportunity. And this time we'll be looking at soul loss and how that impacts the body and the shamanic understanding of that. And then, of course, soul retrieval to bring back those lost soul pieces, which is very much one of the most popular shamanic healing modes. And so maybe join us for that if you've enjoyed this. But for now, thanks for watching.